Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to dive into one of the most common questions that I get from clients or prospective clients through my financial advisory practice. Outside of hosting the Wealth Cafe, I also run my business, which is financial planning and wealth management called Tanis Financial Group. And before anyone can become a client, anyone, any couple, any family, they can become a client. I have everyone do a financial plan. This way we can understand what it is that we are working towards, where are we now, and really laying out those steps. And then we come back and review this annually or even throughout the year as big life changes and milestones occur. When we enter into this process, one of the biggest questions that I am asked is maxing out my 401k enough? So I want to go over with you some other questions that I also give clients in order to help them figure out through the financial planning process if it is truly enough. So I want you to start by defining the time period around enough, right? Is maxing out your 401k enough for retirement? Because a 401k or any different type of retirement asset, your IRA, a SEP 457, 403B, depending on the industry you work in, those are all different types of retirement accounts. You are typically saving them for retirement. Yes, many people do take out money ahead of time, although there are a lot of penalties around that. And so when we are talking about enough, I ask them, do you mean enough for retirement? And so I want us today to really focus on that retirement period. And I'm going to do a separate episode where I will be talking about investments to make outside of your 401k because there are so many penalties wrapped around taking money out prior to 59 and a half from a retirement account. Keep in mind, every retirement account is different. So make sure for your specific accounts, you understand the penalties or what might happen if you take money out prior to a certain age. Every account can be a little different and has those nuances. Part of contributing to a 401k or your retirement plan right now is that there's that benefit, right? That you are allowing, if it's a Roth account, you are paying the taxes now and allowing that money to grow and you'll pull it out tax-free. Or if it is a pre-tax account like a traditional 401k, you have then the benefit of you are going to pay the taxes later on the growth and also the money you contributed. And in exchange for that, you are getting the deduction on your taxes now. So when we are looking at your retirement accounts, we're coming back to this question of, is it enough? And I want you to sit here and ask yourself, I always have clients do this homework prior to starting a financial plan. It's called a dream builder call. And I give them a series of times in their life I want them to think about. And part of this is we do look at retirement. And I ask them, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have in retirement? And there are two parts, in my view, to retirement. Some people will have little, different nuances and things like that that occur due to their health history, but you typically have that first part of retirement where you are healthy, you've probably just stopped working or you're working part-time, or maybe you never want to stop working and you are excited to enjoy time with family. You are exploring new places. Maybe you're just enjoying the place where you live because you didn't get to during your working years. But you are slowing down. It is starting to be later in your life. You might be grandparents, you might be grand aunts and uncles, however your family is structured. But you have this part of your life where typically what we see is you're doing more, you're still active, you're still healthy, and your healthcare costs are lower. So I say, what do you want to happen during that time of your life? Is there a home purchase you want to make? Do you want to be able to travel to and from seeing your grandkids or even your kids, depending on how old they are? Do you want to own a second home closer to them? Or maybe you want to be a snowbird and you want to spend half of your time living in Florida and half of your time living up where the rest of your family is. Maybe that's the Northeast, maybe that's the Midwest, wherever it might be. We then have the second part of retirement. That is when we see your healthcare costs start to rise. And unfortunately, we all hit this part, right? The unfortunate truth is that the only two guarantees in life, the death and the taxes. And when it is that towards the end and later in your life, what type of care do you want? And I try to make this a really empowering conversation for people because I want to understand, do you want at-home healthcare? Do you foresee yourself going into assisted living, or would you want to be put in a nursing home? Maybe you plan to live with family and they are going to take care of you or a friend or a different loved one. However, what I'm really trying to get to the root of is what is the cost behind all of this? Because we need to factor that in when mapping out, is your money that you're contributing now to your 401k and that it will hopefully grow to, is that going to be enough? We all have a different number depending on all of these different variabilities and factors. How long do you want to be retired for? Maybe you're sitting here saying, I want to keep working fully until I'm 70, 80. I see a lot of people who are on the other side who are like, if I could retire tomorrow or even better, yesterday, I would do that. Which category of those do you fall in, right? Because that's going to impact, are you still contributing to these accounts or are you starting to draw them down? That's going to significantly change the amount of money you are going to need during that retirement period. Maybe you plan to pre-retire, as I mentioned before, and you're going to retire from your typical day job that you have now and go into something a little more fun and exciting. Maybe you want to, I know somebody who's become a park ranger and they give like guided nature tours in their retirement because it's more of a passion project for them and it's a minimum wage job that they are doing to stay healthy and active and fit. And that's what brings them joy. But it also does bring in a little bit of income that we were able to factor into their financial plan. So I want you to think of all of these different nuances, big purchases, timeline for your retirement. And is it going to be that partial retirement, full retirement, earlier retirement, later retirement? Keep in mind, we can't plan for everything and we never know what's going to come, but we can really do our best and things are going to change and your financial plan will change with that. It may mean that down the road you need to increase contributions, or you might be able to slow down and say, hey, we've really overfunded our retirement. We can slow down on this. The other piece of figuring out is it enough? We talked about the healthcare costs as well. Post, any healthcare costs you may need once you're no longer with us. Do you want to be leaving a legacy? And part of the conversation that you should have either while we're doing a financial plan for you or with your financial team and advisors is, do you want to leave a monetary legacy or some type of estate? Some people I see typically like to pay for kids for grand college, leave money for the family to do something in their honor or remembrance of them, or they just say, hey, whatever's left over, we will leave. Figure out what feels right to you, and then make sure you are talking with your team of advisors around what makes the most sense to leave behind. Is it physical assets like a home? Is it money in your retirement accounts? Or maybe it's money in taxable accounts. Or it could be some combination of all of the above. Make sure that you communicate this so that it's planned for and you can plan for saving and leaving that money behind now rather than trying to scramble at the end, because you never want to be in that position where you're sitting here thinking, ooh, I can't take this trip because it would eat into what I would want to leave behind for the kids or the grandkids. You want to make sure you're in a position now while you have as many choices as possible to set things up the right way. And as I mentioned before, I will be doing another episode talking about saving outside of your 401k. And just know that as you are in this planning process, two things. One, it's going to change, right? Your plans are going to change because of choices your family makes, things that happen in your health, things that happen in the world, right? There's so much going on. So it's going to change, and just know that and make sure you are communicating with your financial team in order to figure that out. Number two is I want you to be open and willing to make changes, right? If you're starting to realize that, oh no, I'm not contributing enough to retirement, what changes are you open and willing to make? Sometimes we get into the planning process and I will walk through different scenarios and options for people so that they can figure out what feels right for them and is also manageable for them in their lives. It's one thing to sit here and say, hey, I think we should save another $100,000 or $200,000 a year to get you where you want to be. Well, if that's not possible and that doesn't make sense and feel good for you, it might not be the best option. Granted, that's an extreme case, but it helps convey the message. So keep these things in mind. And if you have any comments, questions, or want to start doing a financial plan and do your own Dream Builder call, you can head over to our website, tanisfingroup.com, click on the contact button, and there's an application form in there. And I would love to hear from you. And stay tuned for our other episode where we will talk about investing outside of your 401k and for retirement. Until next time.